Hello, traders. It's 8:03 a.m. Chicago time on Tuesday, the 19th of May, 2020. Thanks for joining today for episode number 1758. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, we have a mixed bag. Mixed bag this morning in terms of risk allocation. We have the Russell coming off approximately 0.65%. Down 8.7. The Euro stocks are off on disappointing earnings in the European stock market, and the leader today again is crude. Crude is still on a tear, up 1% or 31 cents on the July contract, trading at 31.96. This morning, really, the what's driving things, it appears. Stock indices ease as disappointing results from Home Depot weigh in on sentiment, losses in healthcare, construction, engineering firms. And engineering firms weigh on European shares. Asian shares extended gains as a successful early stage trial of a coronavirus vaccine cheered sentiment. This is a remnants from yesterday's session. And that's where we stand this morning. Really, it's mixed to slight allocation to safety this morning. The S&P did make a higher high overnight after yesterday's gap and go trade. Expected a gap and go trade, and that's what we got. And that's where we stand. In terms of what's on deck, we did get quite a few numbers today. Today is crowded with key figures. Claimant count out of Great Britain. We have the zoo economic sentiment out of Germany, which came in relatively strong. Expected 32, got 51. Building permits in the U.S. Was expected down, wow, down 28.9% month on month. Came in at negative 20.8, so slightly better. Housing starts expected at negative 30.1, came in pretty much in line, negative 30.2. And then what we have ahead of us, which is key here, is a half hour after the open, we have Fed's Chair Powell his testimony to Congress. That's coming in today, and then we also have Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin testimony to the House, I believe, to the House of Representatives here in the U.S. That's likely to weigh in as well. Then we have Fed's Rosengren at 2 p.m. and then crude oil stocks at 4:30. And at the end of the day, today here in the U.S. at 9:30 Eastern, we get loan prime rate for China expected to hold steady at 3.85%. Tomorrow also packs in quite a few releases. And so this Thursday, of course, Thursday gives us the initial and continuing claims. And we're going to pay close attention to that. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we get the FOMC minutes, among other things. So this week is quite busy. Friday is very, very light. There's not much on Friday. And I want to remind everyone that this is a holiday weekend here in the U.S. It's Memorial Day weekend. So Friday with the light release schedule, along with the holiday weekend, Friday is likely to be a very, very quiet day. And then, of course, Monday is a holiday in the United States, and we return back to business on Tuesday. Monday marks the true beginning of summer here in the United States. This is when pools normally open and so on and so forth. And of course, there's all this pent-up energy from people being locked in. So it'll be interesting to see how everybody responds next week, as many governors and governments are looking to ease restrictions with an eye on the resurgence of the coronavirus in Wuhan, China. So we'll see how that all goes. A lot of drama in the markets and in the globe. Seems like we're really living some reality TV. So let's move on to what was expected yesterday. Here's what was expected. Um, so yesterday we were gapping up at the time of the trader bite here. We were gapping to 29.27 and a quarter, and as I talked about yesterday, I'm looking for the market to pull back to about 29.22 at best, but turn and push higher, looking for at least 29.50 or so. 29.50 above, that's the stock zone above us. If it pushes up and fails to hold above that 39 and a quarter, there were two levels on top of each other, 39 and a quarter and 47-ish. If it splashes through 39 and a quarter, falls back into the range, then we are likely to make a trip down to 29.07 before the bounce, as you can see there in scenario two. In either case, we're looking for a gap zone to remain open beneath us, quite a large one actually, and that's going to be marked on our chart. So here's what actually happened. Let's see if we can spot it on our. Yep. So if I turn on my master levels here, you can see that there's a gray box right here. This marks in the master levels. This marks the gap zone, or why do we mark the gap zone? We mark the gap zone because it's an unauctioned area. It's an unauctioned area, and the market is likely to come back and drift to it. You can see that it went to 29, 23.50, expected 22 right here, expected it to come down to this point of control on an extreme, but overall I was looking for it to break higher and push through this 39 area, which it tested very early, and then I was conservative with my range projection to 29.50. It held to 29.50, went to 52.75, and then created this beautiful flag. We have what is an impulse and a flag here, and then continuation. In my opinion, the structure yesterday was very decent. It did give some pretty good areas to get in with very clear risk. We had some very clear zippers to lean against. Here's the zipper for the long, zipper for the short, and so on and so forth. And it did really well. There's a fair amount of selling, 22 points of selling into the close here. Pretty good volume, pushing the delta to the negative side. Now, here's the thing to note. Again, becoming obviously, hopefully at this point, let me expand this. Let's look at our delta. So the delta is these candlesticks. Okay, let me hide these for a minute. This is our delta. As you can see, the delta starts with the open at 0. At the open, it was immediately, even though we were going sideways, it was immediately leaning to the sell side, just slightly, nothing significant, pushing above and below. And you can see it here, pushing above and below, very strong to the downside, and then coming back above the open in this consolidation back to the mid. It's a nice impulse. This was an impulse down with a mid pullback, and the expectation is it would take the 23.50 and go to the 22, which did not work. But here it's above the open, so we would expect the relative delta to be at or above 0. And it's negative. And then we finally start pushing up on this impulse higher, and we get the delta back up. But then as we are flagging here well above the open, remember the open is way down here, as we flag above the open, we crossed 0 line again. And as we push higher, we're not able. And what this tells me is this is kind of an early canary in the mine shaft kind of indication that the move up, although price is king, but price with the support of volume is much stronger in my opinion. And so what this is saying is this move is a little too quick, too far too quick in terms of the delta. And so what we end up with is a big discrepancy between the open in price and the high in price versus the delta right here, which is at 0. Okay, and then we finish still higher, but the delta is below. Okay, the delta behaves differently at different times of the day because things are not always um, things are not always going to be we're not going to have the same participants throughout the day. But what we ended up with is a normal variation day with a very clear distinction here at 39. Remember, 39.75 is that old high, and we ended up with a low volume node. I was really eyeing out this pullback towards 39, looking for indications of stability for a long. Plenty of opportunities to get in early here. Unfortunately, a couple of false indications to move higher, but still that trade kind of worked out. And so we end up with this really important low volume node separating the upper distribution of yesterday's profile from the lower distribution. And we're currently trading at 41 with a point of control overnight at 37 beneath it. So what does this all mean? This means that as we open up, I would expect the market to push and hold this prior point of control 2946 and battle the 2950 area. If it's unable, then I'm looking for this gap to get filled, and it creates an opportunity for a very quick, most likely a very quick paying short into the gap zone below the 23 with an initial target again still at about 2050 pushing to 20 pushing to the gap mid, which is around 29 28. I think it's 28 here. The gap mid is 28.9150. So this brings us back to the 2900. So a short on failure to hold above 39 this morning is likely to target 2920, 2918, 2907, and potentially 2900. And that puts us in the gap zone. Okay, that's the big play today. Why? Because we had a gap and go situation with a pretty decent sell-off on the close and no real participation from buyers on the delta. Okay, so let's take a look at this laptop. It constantly resets my screen. Let's take a look at the order flow overnight. Pretty steady play overnight. Come on. Pretty steady play overnight, really pushing well to the upside. Very strong push on the European Open and big collisions above into the 29.73 area. Mostly quiet during the Asian session, but then it turned around and came right back on earnings out of Europe, and we're holding steady here near the low. Again, 29.39 is important here, 29.39.50 or so is an important area for the market to hold. It's the LVN, it's the prior week's high. It's kind of the cutoff point for today's session. It's the line in the sand for today's session, and we're looking for the market to fight this and push back down. So let me get yesterday's range out of here so we can see where the liquidity is. And you can see the liquidity is stacked more on the bid, and this is kind of a little sprinkle of an indication as to where the market bias is. The way I'm reading this is we pushed up. This was supposed to be an impulse higher. Oops. We pushed up. This was an impulse higher. Look at the delta. Really nice delta on the push up. Really nice push on volume. And then we expect it to pull back. And we expect it to continue. And it just did not. It did not continue. And instead, we had basically a reversal impulse down. And then we had a pullback. We had a small pullback and a continuation. But for this impulse is still intact. And I'm looking, as long as it doesn't take out this 29.57-ish area, I'm looking for this to continue lower. That's what I'm looking for this morning. This is the side that I'm leaning on for contacts. So that takes care of the first requirement. Does anybody remember the 4 requirements that we have to get right for every trade? Does anybody remember that? You can type that in as you hear it. I'm going to move on. So what are the key liquidity areas below 2930, which is basically the overnight low? The overnight low is 2930.75. Beneath there, we have yesterday's low at 29.23. Liquidity is at 29.24. It's 23 half. Yesterday's liquidity is at 24. And then beneath there, 29.20, a little bit of liquidity there and starting to get to even hotter. And then beneath that, in terms of levels, you can see my cloud notes here in the column called CLN. Beneath there, I was really looking for 29.07, doesn't seem to have any liquidity at all. And that's what it is to the downside. And then we push into 2900, which has some liquidity right here. Okay. And then above, really, it's the high, the overnight high. And then above there, 29.90. I'm starting to see the volatility deltas are starting to take a peek into 3,000. Can you believe that? We're within the range of 3,000 above. So that's where we stand this morning. Here's what's expected for today. Okay, so where are we? Come on. Oof. Getting more memory for this laptop. It just cannot keep up. Of course, it's running a ton of stuff. So, okay. So this morning, I'm looking for, on the first scenario, for those of you who answered, thank you, and that is correct. I'm looking for open auction in range out of value. I'm considering this a valid value area. Out of value, I'm looking for a push, a responsive buy up to 29.46. I'm looking for this to be thoroughly tested. Once it fails through the 39.50, 39.75, I'm looking to get short, and looking for the overnight low to be taken out, the 30. Remember, there's liquidity at 30, 25, and 20, and then slip right through into yesterday's low, and then slip right through to this 20. So I'm expecting consolidation here, here, and slip right through. And now we're in the gap zone. I'm looking for 29.07 before it even has a chance to bounce. I'm looking for it to kind of spin around and spiral in this high volume node here at 29.23 and hold steady. If it does not, it has a very good chance at 2900. And if the selling accelerates, then we're looking for 29, looks like 29.87 as the next key area, 87, 86 as the next key area. That's my main bias for today in terms of what the market will do. Now, will likely do. Now, if we get an open that tests down into the overnight low and then impulses up, that impulse is very important information. Impulses up, consolidates at yesterday's point of control, then it's likely to continue to the value high area of 29.61, consolidate for the afternoon, and then start to squeeze up. And now we're back on track with the trend. And so today I'm looking for it to falter, to turn over, but if it doesn't, then we're looking for it to continue back up to 29.78 and 29.84 above. Capiche? That's what I have for you for today. Good luck. I want to remind everyone again that I did launch EdgeClear last month, and I would like your support if you want to support what I'm doing and the development that's going on that is intended, tools that are intended for prop traders. I would appreciate your support by clearing your business with EdgeClear. I know you already have a broker and so on, and it's it's really not that much of an effort to move your account over. It's just some paperwork, but I would appreciate your support at EdgeClear as we build up. The team is excellent, a group of award-winning brokers who'll take care of you. They'll answer your call. There's not some computer maze that you have to go through. We have 24-hour desk capabilities in case you need it, and access to many, many platforms and developing our own. So if you would support us, I'd appreciate it. Good luck, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.